You are Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Phins fans? Welcome to another episode of your Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. I am Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, G-R-I-E-S, at Jim Grease _ on social media. Say it again, at Jim Grease, G-R-I-E-S, on social media. Give me a follow, make you holler. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Happy Thanksgiving. First and foremost, I have to say, happy Turkey Day. Hope you were able to spend some time with friends, with family, with loved ones. Even that includes yourself, right? You know, little self-reflection, self-love on a day like today, but also gratitude. What are you thankful for? Hoping that we'd be thankful for a Dolphins win tonight, but look, you're playing a red-hot team in the Green Bay Packers, the best team in the NFL that's not in first or second place in their division. Look, they got the Lions and the Vikings ahead of them, right? But 8-3 coming in, and certainly in any other division in football, they'd be right at the top. So very, very tough night for Miami. We know about the struggles in the cold historically. We know Tua's 0-4 in games under 40 degrees or less. And you know what? Under 40 degrees or less. I'll be okay. But they started very cold tonight. Tough start. Malik Washington muffs the punt on the first drive of the game, and they just could never recover. Penalties killed them tonight. Sacks again, and just listless in the first half, man. Very disappointing to watch the Miami Dolphins with all that octane, all that firepower, everything they have under the hood of that monster, that beast, and they can just never seem to get it going at the right times. This is your Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. This episode is brought to you by X over Thursday Prize Picks. I don't know what in the world that means. X over Thursday, crossover Thursday Prize Picks. How about that? Crossover Thursday. That's what it means. Crossover Thursday presented by Prize Picks. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5 Crossover Thursday Prize Picks. And I also want to thank you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Dolphins POSTCAST your first listen or watch today on your Thanksgiving. And you could have been anywhere. We are the Dolphins postgame show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Made no mistake about it. The POSTCAST right here. We're on live after every game, breaking down the game, not to be confused with Locked On Dolphins, which is every day. Keeps you in the know with Kyle Krabs. But after the games, you want to come right here, right at the end, right as that final gun sounds. And that is right here. We're free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, right after every Dolphins game, you want to come right here and right here only. And we will break it down. And again, like we talked about with the Canes too, with the Heat, we don't work for the team or the flagship station. We have the ability to really break down the game. Nobody's telling us what to say. Sponsors have no influence. Station management, team management. And I've worked for so many of these flagships over the years. A lot of you might recognize me from all those years doing Dolphins, doing Dolphins and Hurricanes and FIU even for a couple of years, and Panthers on the intermissions. But I'll say this, it's been the Marlins too. And nobody's influencing what we say here. So it's 30-17, the final score. And there's so much. And I always am so organized. And I write these so many notes during the games. And, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, what am I going to talk to the people about with this one? And I'm trying to give you more of a tight format with these shows, right? Because, look, the Dolphins were a game out of the 8th and final playoff spot in the AFC heading into this one tonight, a game back in the loss column. So we're going to take you through this with the show, okay? So we give you the overview and the reaction in the first segment, the raw emotion of it all. Oh, man, just maddening watching that game tonight. This team loves to shoot itself in the foot, man. They love to shoot themselves in the feet, you know, and it was cold. It's under 30 degrees, but, you know, not bad. They're football players, man. Come on, they're football players. In fact, there are too many indoor stadiums and not enough weather like there should have been and should be in football over the years. And you look back at some of those old stadiums in the cold weather and their domes now and whatever, but not Green Bay and not Lambeau Field. The history is still right there in the forefront with everything there. And then, You get a little bit later in the show, you'll get the box score, you'll get the team stats, you'll get the key plays and sponsors if you want to sponsor these segments. Let's be stepping that up, right? And then, of course, in the final segment, you get the final score graphic, you get the key moment and the player of the game. And, it's unfortunate for Miami. Look, they had 10 penalties in this game. Tua got sacked a bunch of times. Malik Washington muffs the punt after the defense gets a 3-and-out on Green Bay's first drive of the night. Then you have 2nd and goal at the 1-yard line, and you cannot score in the second half, in the fourth quarter. 2nd and goal at the 1-yard line. Try again. 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line. Try again. 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. Do not try again. So that right there, and man, that really killed them. I thought there were a lot of bad penalty calls on the Dolphins tonight. Seemed like so many times they'd get a big play and then a holding offense. Like, it didn't seem like the refs were really, I don't want to say they were biased toward Green Bay, but how many times did the Dolphins get hit with a big penalty? I'm amazed they didn't call one on Saran on that deep pass Green Bay threw late in the game, which, by the way, was an idiotic play to give them with 2:05 and not make the Dolphins take that timeout. Then you got the 2-minute warning. The Dolphins actually could have really done some things tonight had they scored on that drive when they had that ball, 2nd and goal at the 1-yard line. And we'll get into all this. We'll take you through some of the play-by-play in the second segment of the show. And then, of course, later on, we wrap it up with the final score, the key moment, the player of the game. Then we get you moving toward the JETS, suck, next week. That's right. I said it. I told you I don't work for a flagship station or the team or anybody telling me what to say. JETS, suck. And so does Aaron Rodgers. I was all over this. If you go back and listen to any of the stuff I said before the season, yeah, and I said it, he sucks now. He sucks now. Watch Aaron Rodgers now. He's not good. He is not good. Time waits for no man. We know that, right? But the Jets are terrible, and the Dolphins need that coming into town because now you have, at 5-7, literally almost no room for error. Luckily for the Dolphins, a lot of the other teams in the AFC don't seem to want it either. But, the way this offense is capable of playing, and the way that they were able to get the ball into the hands of Waddle and Hill later in the game, why are they not coming out like that early in these games? They've had no running game at all lately. Nothing. Yeah, the 3-game win streak, you played really well against Arizona-ish, but it was Tua's first game back. You had the 16-10 loss at Indy right before that, and that's a halfway decent team that went south as soon as everything happened there with their QB and being taken out of the game and all that. But, man, when you go and you do what the Dolphins did, you lost that Cardinals game. That's going to kill you later on, right after that Colts game. 16-10, you lose to the Colts. Tua comes back next week. You blow it against the Cardinals. The following week after that, you got the Bills on the road. That might have been the best game the Dolphins played all year. Their offense was great. Tua was outstanding. You had the lead late. You had a bad defensive penalty late in that game. You had a couple of plays by Josh Allen, and then the super long field goal to beat you. So Indy, Arizona, the 3-game losing streak, punctuated with the loss at Buffalo. Any of those could have been wins. And I know woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's the NFL, right? Every game's like that for the most part. But Miami with a terrible record in close games this year. Look, the Dolphins, I had written it down before the game, and Green Bay has the best record of any team in 3rd place in the NFL, right? You lose to the Eagles, you lose to the Vikings, you lose to the Lions. Look, Vikings and Lions and Eagles, oh my, they've won 6 of 7. They've won 8 out of 10. They're a really good team. You got them on their home field, and you muff the damn punt to start the game. Your defense gets a 3-and-out. Malik Washington not knowing the weather. What's he doing in warm-ups before the game? How does he not know where the wind's blowing, where it's swirling, where that football's coming from? You know which way you're going. Why does nobody talk to him about these things and help him? He's a rookie. Disaster, right? You catch the ball with your feet. Jason Garrett said it on the telecast. You catch it with your feet. You get under that ball, and he got worked by that one, and it got the best of him. So not a good start for Miami. Green Bay scores on their first 2 drives. Even the second drive for Miami, they're making a couple plays. A-Chain in the passing game is phenomenal, but, man, they're making plays, holding on the offense. Jonnu Smith, a false start on one play, and then a 15-yard penalty 3 plays later for unsportsmanlike conduct. They're both grabbing each other's face masks. They're both pushing each other. That's a horrible job of officiating. That has to be offsetting. You cannot just call 15 yards on Miami there when Green Bay's player has a handful of Jonnu's face mask and he's grabbing it too. That's BS. By the way, smash that like button, ring the bell, hit the subscribe, you know what I mean? And you'll hit the bell, and you know when we have content coming your way. We are the official Miami Dolphins post-game show on the Locked On Podcast Network, Dolphins Postcast right here. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, Gries, 30-17. The Dolphins fall at Lambeau Field. At first glance, not terrible, but man, they had some chances in this game. Man, they did some things that'll just literally make you want to rip your skin off from frustration as you're watching. And then there's a lot of it, too, where it's just Green Bay's a hell of a football team. All right, still to come on the show, we're going to hit the box score, the leaders of this game, team stats, key plays, what happened tonight, the numbers and how they tell the story of the game. And then as we turn the corner into the final segment of the show, we're going to hit you with the graphics that we love so much. The final score, the key moment of the game, the player of the game. We got all those elements for you. Then we take a look at the JETS suck matchup next week. The schedule down the stretch, it looks pretty favorable for Miami. You'd love to have either that Colts game, the Cardinals game, or the Bills game that they lost, the tough ones, but those are all good teams, minus the Colts. And you've lost some tough games, some tough teams. What happens is you have the 2-3 game losing streaks. You had the injury to Tua. So much happened that you have no room for error right now. You are watching Locked On Dolphins Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We're free on Spotify. We're free on Apple Podcasts. We're free on iHeart. We are free on Stitcher and Podbean. And, of course, Locked On Sports Miami on YouTube. And we are the official post-game show of the Miami Dolphins on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's the Miami Dolphins Postcast. Locked On Dolphins Postcast rolling on right now with me, Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease at Jim Grease _ on social media right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. 30-17, Green Bay beats the Dolphins on Thanksgiving night. And I get a chance to talk to you. Uh-oh, where'd that go? Why did this happen? Let's see. Did we? Uh-oh, how did that happen? Let me get you. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I went to open. Excuse me, guys, 1 second. Had the. There it is. Okay, and you know how I feel about FanDuel. I love talking to you about FanDuel. You got to get ready to tackle the NFL action. Big day Sunday, tons. Again, there's even one tomorrow. Tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, numero uno, with all the competitors they have. Think about it, #1, right? #1 with a bullet, because right now new customers can bet $5. Get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. That's right. Unbelievable, right? So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, check this out. You can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play. You can do so much more than all that on the same page where you place your bets with FanDuel.com. How about that? Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Locked On Dolphins Postcast, the official Miami Dolphins postgame show on the Locked On Podcast Network and on God's green earth, for that matter. And I don't mean official in terms of the team and working for the team and working for the flagships and all that, where you kind of get told what to say and you don't really, nothing here. Nothing like that. It's unfiltered. It's raw. It's real. It's instant. Right after the games, Locked On Dolphins Postcast. We do the Locked On Canes Postcast, which is going to be dope. So check it. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a segment with Alex Dono of Locked On Canes. We've done it all year. And just like we've done all year long, we'll do it tomorrow. It'll be up tomorrow on Locked On Canes. And then Saturday, I'll have the postcast. 1:30 kick. I think it's 1:30 or it's 3:30 kick, against Syracuse. All on the line for the Canes. Win, you go to the ACC Championship. Lose, you play in an I don't care bowl, pretty much is what it's going to look like for Miami in that regard. Maybe still a shot at the playoffs, but not likely. So we'll be live right after that one. Heat on Sunday, playing Toronto. We will get you that. And, of course, they play tomorrow against Toronto as well. And then, of course, you got the Dolphins next week against the Jets. Jets. All right, so there you have it, Miami. And the Dolphins just not getting it done. Tonight. Just not getting it done. And there's no excuse early in the game. I mean, to come out the way that they did, and I'm going to hit the play-by-play in a minute here, and I'm going to take you into really when you look at why they lost this game and what really happened in this ball game tonight. It was early for Miami. And even in the first half, Tua missed a couple of throws that he never misses. One to Achane, one to Tyreek Hill, way over their heads. And it's sickening sometimes to see the way things happen with this team. It really is, because they really got it going in the second half, but in the first half, it just was not there, man. It was not there. And the defense cranked it up a little bit later. But early in the game, you get the 3 and out on the first drive for Green Bay. -4 yards, right? 1st and 10 at the Green Bay 46. You get a 43-yard kickoff return. You give up a 43-yard kickoff return. Then you get a 3 and out with -4 yards. False start on the second play, rather. You gain a yard on the first play. Then you get a penalty on the second play. An incomplete pass on the third play. And then Zach Sealer played a great game last week. Jordan Love gets sacked by Sealer. He fumbles, and Calais Campbell recovers at the Green Bay 35, goes to the Green Bay 33 for 2 yards. And you're thinking, oh my God, here we are, we're on the road. Wow, you give it the big kickoff return, the fumble, let's go. Well, the replay official reviews the fumble ruling, and the play is reversed. It's an incomplete pass, and Sealer and Calais, and oh man, right there. So what happens? This is the turning point of the game. This is, and it should be, it will be in the graphic, but it should be, because this is where Malik Washington muffs the punt. So they force the fumble, the replay overturns it, Malik Washington muffs the punt, and right there, bang, Green Bay just takes the ball instantly. They only have to go 9 yards. They get it at the 9, and, look, 3rd and goal from the 3. Reed gets the pass from Jordan Love, who played great tonight. You got to give Jordan Love a lot of credit. And Green Bay, Brett Favre didn't start right away. He actually came from Atlanta. Aaron Rodgers didn't play right away, and neither did Jordan Love. They got the formula, like the DO says, the formula. They got the formula for the quarterback. So 3 plays, 9 yards, touchdown, and then the Dolphins get it, 5 plays, -3 yards. First play, they don't even get a chance to run the play. False start. You got Achane going in motion to the right. Jonnu Smith moves at the same time. Penalty, number 9, 5 yards. And then Achane goes 11 yards, and it's 2nd and 4. Achane gets 7, first down, 1st and 10 at the Miami 43. Here's where it starts to fall apart. Tua gets sacked, -12 on the play. Luckily for them, it was a defensive offsides and there was no play. So you get a 1st and 5 at the Miami 48. What do? False start, back them up 5. Unbelievable. You cannot make these things up. They lose a yard on the next play, 2nd and 11, -3. Tua gets sacked. Jonnu Smith, unnecessary roughness. The play counts, the down counts, 15 more yards. Back they go, 3rd and 29, they run it. Disgusting. Green Bay gets the ball, 12 plays, 76 yards, touchdown Packers. Miami comes down, 12 plays, 55 yards. What happens? They're forced to kick a field goal. They are forced to kick a field goal. 4th and goal from the 15-yard line. You get a 1st and goal from the 9. No, -6 for Achane. And then the next play, no gain. And then an incomplete pass. They could not do anything offensively near the goal line in the red zone tonight, and it absolutely killed them. So that's what happened there. You got outscored 24-3 in the first half. You just got worked. You got smoked right off the field, 24-3 in the first half. You actually outscored them 14-6 in the second. So what else happened, or how did it happen? We got a couple of minutes left in the segment. And by the way, while you're here, smash that subscribe, because we love that community just growing right here. Locked On Sports Miami. Ring the bell so you know when we're coming live to you again on the official Miami Dolphins postcast. We are the post-game show here on the Locked On Podcast Network for the Miami Dolphins, and anywhere for that matter. And yeah, man, 30-17. The final score. So you can like it, you can get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. And by the way, if you want to revisit after, you can listen to us anytime. Just search it up. Locked On Dolphins Postcast. You'll find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, you name it. So yeah, and the number's spiking right now. So thank you very much, guys. 30-17. Real quick before we end this segment, I thought it was a good night for Tua. The second half, he really played a lot better. Missed a couple of big throws in the first, and you're not seeing any deep balls. Tua's been great at those medium to deep balls, like those posts, those slants, those curls, any of those like that are 15 to 25 yards down the field. He's great at those routes and the intermediate routes and the shorter routes, but you haven't seen a lot of deep balls, and you got nothing from the run game. So Tua, 37-46, 365 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. On the surface, looks like an amazing game, but in the first half, when a couple of big plays needed to be made, he missed wide open receivers. And I mean wide open Tyreek Hill and wide open Achane, who are right now, Waddle's in there too, but those are their 2 best playmakers. Achane scored his 20th touchdown tonight, right? So 37-46, 365, 2 touchdowns, but he was sacked 5 times, even though no picks, 5 sacks, right? And at times tonight, he had all day to throw. Interesting. But here's a real problem for Miami. 14 carries for 39 yards on the ground. Mostert, 5 for 19. Achane, 7 for 14. Tua, 2 for 6. Absolutely terrible for Miami there. Jonnu Smith had another huge game, 10 for 113 tonight. In the past 3 weeks, Jonnu Smith has had 3 touchdowns and 25 catches, 26 catches unofficially. So 10 for 113. He's playing at a Pro Bowl level, minus the dumb penalties tonight. Tyreek Hill, 6 for 83 and a touchdown. Maybe his best game of the year for Miami. Achane, 8 for 56 and a TD. Waddle, 4 for 53. Mostert, 2 for 15. Ingold, 2 for 15. There was an OBJ sighting, 1 for 9. They got to get more out of OBJ. Malik Washington, 2 for 8. The fumble on the punt return. Jonnu had a fumble too. The Dolphins didn't lose it. Dodson, the backup linebacker, had 10 tackles, 5 solo. Tyrell Dodson, who had the interception last week. Poyer had 9 and 2 solos, and they keep getting guys hurt in the secondary, by the way. We'll have to hit that later on in the show as well as we continue with your Locked On Dolphins postcast. And really the key plays to the game, I just went through them. The sequence that did it, you think you have a sack and a fumble on the opening drive. It gets overturned by replay. Then you muff the punt, give them a 9-yard field, bang, it's 7-0. Then before you know it, you get the ball back, you pick up a first down, you start going backwards. Penalties, dumb penalties, 10 penalties tonight for Miami. Real quick, let's hit the team stats before we bounce to the final segment of the show and give you the player of the game, the turning point, look ahead to the JETS, suck, and the playoff push. All right, team stats in this game, 21-19, Miami had more first downs, especially passing 20-11. Third down, 4 for 14, that's crap. Got to be better. 3 for 5 on fourth, and that's not terrible. 65 plays to 53. Total yards, 375 for Miami, 388 for Green Bay. 336 to 274 passing yards, rushing yards, god awful. 114 for Green Bay, 39 for Miami. And here's where you really hurt yourself tonight. 10 penalties, 75 yards. The Packers had 7 for 44. A fumble lost, big difference there. You had the ball for 6 minutes plus more than they did. You came into this game a 3.5-point dog. You actually, when you look at the stats with all that time of possession, everything but the rushing yards, this game is just, it comes down to, man, you don't get the turnover, you muff the punt. Those things are just brutal. So when you look at the numbers, not a reason to panic. You shouldn't be jumping into the Bay tonight, but you could have won this game. And when you had the Colts game, when you had the Cardinals game, when you had the Bills game that have already happened like this, where you had your chances and you didn't pick up those dubs, and you had the 3-game losing streak, those games when Tua was out, you don't have any room left for error. So when we come back on the other side, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the schedule. We're going to talk about the playoff chances. We're going to talk about the Jets next week. We give you the player of the game. We give you the turning point, the final score graphic, and we look ahead to the rest of the season. You are watching Locked On Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Little late into the break, but love talking to you about my friends at, what time is it? Say it with me. Game Time. That is right. I love going to watch football live. I remember going to the old Sullivan Stadium. Where? What, Jim, you ask? Sullivan Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts, back when the world was in order, when there were no Patriot fans anywhere. And I used to go up with my stepbrothers and stepfather who had moved from Miami to go watch Dan Marino and Don Shula and I was at the snowplow game. I went to a lot of those games, went to the Meadowlands a bunch to see my Cowboys play the Giants, watch the Jets. We'd go see Marino twice a year, once against the Jets, once against the Dolphins. And then we'd go and see the Cowboys in the Meadowlands. And almost every year we'd go to another stadium and watch games. You got to make those memories. You got to do it. And the thing is now it's so much easier. And it's so much easier in many ways because of Game Time. I mean, just wait till I tell you about Game Time picks in a minute. You pick an upcoming game in the app, you browse through the seats on Game Time picks, and it's really interesting because you set the parameters in Game Time picks. You curate, almost it curates for you, but you put the parameters in, it gets to know you. You know what I'm saying? The smart technology. And as it gets to know you and you put in the parameters, Game Time picks only shows you what you want, doesn't show you everything else that you're not interested in. So with Game Time, you get Game Time picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all that. All in pricing. You toggle that feature. It shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can see the views from every seat in the joint. panoramically, yeah, right there in the app. You get the lowest price guarantee. If not, they credit you 110% of the difference. And you get game time ticket coverage, which is your purchase covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. What does all that mean? It means you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, so all what you're worried about, making memories at these football games. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. It almost sounds too good to be true. You heard me right. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Okay, what up? Game Time on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehover, call me Grease. I am pumped, man. You know what? Miami played really well in the second half, and it's not really well. I mean, they outplayed one of the better teams in the NFL right now in the second half. They didn't wake up until too late, but look, they got punched in the mouth early. It's cold. Tua missed some throws. So if that play stands on the fumble, if Washington doesn't muff the punt, if all those things, the game starts differently. And listen to me, right? If. There is no if. It is what it is. It happened as it happened, and it's happened like that too many times this year. So what can your Miami Dolphins do to turn this thing around right now? Hey, it's your tomorrow. You got to turn it around, right? So what you going to do when the largest arms in the world wrap themselves around you, brother? And that's what's been happening to Miami, right? They've been committing way too many penalties. Sacks have been a killer. And, just one of those years, man. One of those years. The way it started with Tyreek Hill and all that. And then it just was way, way, way out of control from the start. Tua's concussion, trying to get the extra yards when he already had the first down, trying to fire the team up. He misses all those games. And, yeah, crazy, man. And Jordan Love playing well. 2 touchdown passes to Jaylen Reed. Tonight, fast start, 9-3 for Green Bay. They've won 3 in a row, 7 of 8, and 8 of 10. Miami's 5-7, 27 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds, some flurries through the game. Dolphins have lost 10 of 11 regular or postseason games in which the kickoff temperature has been below 40 degrees. Tua 0-5 now in those games in his career. Last time the Dolphins won a game like that, 2016 in overtime at Buffalo. And Green Bay playing for the third time in 12 days didn't look like it tonight with Jordan Love going 21-28 for 274. Tua told you his numbers, 37 of 46, 364, 2 TDs. Also sacked 5 times. Brandon McManus with a couple of field goals. Jason Sanders remained perfect tonight for Miami. He's perfect on everything for the season. Got to be the Pro Bowl kicker, right? It just was, 27-11, 2:43 left in the third. Miami gets the ball back, 2nd and goal at the 1 early in the 4th. They turn it over on downs. And they had 3 plays from the 1, and they can't get it in. I mean, come on, right? They score there. Who knows? It's 27-17. And then you go for 2, I'm sure. And maybe you don't go for 2 there because you get 1 and then, you score again. But it just is, it's frustrating. The 10 penalties were huge tonight. The sacks were big in this game and just, mental mistakes for Miami, and I want to see the weapons involved in the game plan earlier. I want to see more of a running game, and I don't know who's going to play in the secondary for Miami. Kohu's out, Fuller. It just is. It is crazy when you think about it right now. I made a list of everybody who's been out in that secondary. Fuller, Kohu, Cam Smith injured there, but just one of those games very frustrating. So the Dolphins host the Jets on December 8th, and the Packers are at Detroit next Thursday night, trying to get that game back. They lost to the Lions already this year. So the Dolphins lose 30-17, and we are about to take you through some of the graphics that we have here for you on the show. Remember, you're watching Locked On Dolphins Postcast, the official Dolphins postgame show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehover, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ on social media, GRIES. What do you say we give you the end of the game graphics that you guys have come to love so much? First things first, we give you the final score. Look at that, 30. Well, that should be a 7. 32-17, the final at Green Bay. Look at the Lambeau leap there, and then why not for Reed? A big night for him. 30-17, the final score. And then you've got right here the moment, which is the turning point in the game. And this, right, there should be a precursor to the moment. There's Malik Washington. Dope! I mean, that punt's just hanging in there and in the air. The wind is swirling. The air's heavy. The Florida boys are in the cold. Blah, blah, blah. Yak, yak, yak. Wah, wah, wah. Catch the damn ball, man. You're in the NFL. Catch the ball. It's a punt. Let it go. Call a fair catch. Do whatever you need to do, man. Make a play somehow. But the fumble's reversed. Remember, Sealer, who played a big game last week against New England, breaks through, sacks Jordan Love on third down. After the big kickoff return to open the game for Green Bay, you force the fumble. Calais recovers. Oh, replay overturned. Malik muffs the punt. Green Bay gets a 9-yard field. Defense is tough, man. They hold him on the run plays. Jacobs gets nowhere, but then Reed catches the pass from Love to go into the end zone. So it really started with the overturned sack and fumble. The sack wasn't overturned. The fumble was overturned in the recovery by Miami. And then it led to that. And just look at the picture tells more than 1,000 words there. And then the star of the game is not a Miami Dolphin. And it could be Tua. He played good, 37-46, but 2 touchdowns, no picks, but he missed some big throws, missed some easy throws early. Could have been Reek, could have been Waddle, could have been Jonnu. Jonnu doesn't get in the end zone. Reek does. It could have been Tyreek, 4 for 63, but the clear player of the game today, and you guys know I don't like to do this, but it is what it is. He was by far the best player on the field tonight, showing some love to Jordan. Big, big game for the Packers quarterback. I'm not going to read his numbers again. I'm not going to disgust myself and you by doing that, but there you have it. That's what happened in this game tonight. Your Miami Dolphins fall to 5-7. Really thought they had a shot tonight. They did what they needed to do, won the last 3. I still feel like, look, the Colts game, you didn't have Tua back yet. You really wish you could have had that one back. The Cardinals game where you blew it, you really actually blew that one late. You couldn't have done anything more to hand them the game if you wanted to. Then the Bills game where you really handed them that game. You should have beaten them on the road. Those 2 are going to kill you. You won the next 3. They should be 7-5 right now. Instead, you're 5-7, and you really got a lot of work to do. So what kind of work do you have to do? Well, you're 5-7, and now you're more than a loss back of the number 8 seed. And we'll obviously, Kyle Krabs on Locked On Dolphins day in and day out. Every dayers know he'll have you covered with all the playoff scenarios. But, you've fallen out of that 8th spot, a dominant loss tonight. Green Bay just put it on you. And so now you're looking at Miami. You beat Jacksonville. You lose to the Bills, Seahawks, and Titans. The Patriots, you win on the road. You lose to the Colts, Cards, and Bills, the Rams and Raiders and Pats, and then you lose to Green Bay. So no more losing streaks for Miami. The last 2 times this has happened, it went on to be a 3-game losing streak, a streaky season for the Dolphins. But you have the Jets coming up on the 8th. You have the Texans on the road on the 15th, and you have the Niners. Maybe they don't get things right by then. They have a lot of injuries, a lot of guys out. Maybe they go off the cliff, and then you're at the Browns and at the Jets. So you legitimately could run the table here. You could run the table and go 10-7. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they go 9-8 or 8-9 and maybe miss the playoffs just briefly. Just barely, Just barely miss the playoffs there. Playoffs. And a reminder, too, if you missed any of the show, you can catch it on the audio version. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean. Just search it up. Locked On Dolphins Postcast, the Dolphins postgame show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, at Jim Grease _ on social media, GRIES. And you can't have 10 penalties, especially killing drives all night long. You can't have a 2nd and goal at the 1, a 3rd and goal at the 1, and a 4th and goal at the 1, back to back to back, and stuffed 3 plays in a row. You don't score, you get nothing, and it still ends up being 30-17. Had they scored there, everything changes. And look, that play where Saran scooped it up and scored, it was a forward pass, and it was the right call, but that one just ever so close to being a backward pass. That play there, plus the fumble that got overturned, how close is it in the NFL? Every single game is decided by plays like that, where it's literally inches with guys of that athletic caliber, that speed, that size. Unbelievable when you think about the overturned fumble and the pass that was just barely not backward, and Miami could have had a touchdown there. So even with all the penalties, even with all the first half struggles, hell, if Tua hits Tyreek or Achane on either one of those throws in the second quarter and they punch one in on that last drive when they were getting the ball back to start the third, there's so many things in the NFL, but they are playing better. You have to clean up these penalties. As the things like personal foul, you have to clean these up. The false starts this time of year, pathetic, inexcusable. I don't care. I say it. Not the flagship station. Don't work for the team. It is what it is. They're human beings. I get it. But you cannot keep making these mistakes over and over again. You have to find a way to get the ball into the hands of those weapons earlier in these games. I think the verdict's still out on Mike McDaniel as a head coach. I'll be completely honest with you. I am not 100% sold. I have not drank that Kool-Aid. Way too much sugar in Kool-Aid. I am not drinking Kool-Aid. I like Mike McDaniel. I like a lot of things about Mike McDaniel, but I am still not 100% sold on McDaniel as a head coach. All right, man, that's going to do it. You know, I don't even want to say what the Mad Dog's catchphrase was tonight because it's a loss, but that's all there is. Phins fans, there is no more. My boy Jim Mandich, one of my best mentors, the Mad Dog. And I'll tell you this, he would not have been happy right now. And you guys know the Mad Dog would not have been peachy keen riding around with his windows down after this one. 30-17, the Dolphins lose on the Tundra, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Tua now 0-5 in temperatures of 40 degrees or less, and the Dolphins won in their last 12. And it was 8 years ago when they last won a game where the kickoff temperature was 40 degrees or less. Reminder, tomorrow we have the Heat postcast after the Raptors game. The game starts at 6. We're on right after. Saturday, Miami Hurricanes at the Syracuse Orange. 3:30 kickoff. Right after that, we have the postcast. Everything on the line for Cristobal, Cam, and the Canes. They win. They go on to the ACC championship against SMU the following week. And then you win that, and you go on to play in the playoffs and a shot at the national title for the University of Miami. Could we get number 6 this year? It could be the year. It could be the year before the year, or the year before the year before. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's been a long day, long night. Hope you've had an amazing Thanksgiving. We have the Heat on Sunday as well after the Raptors game. 6 o'clock tip, 8:30 on the postcast. So, again, Heat tomorrow, Canes Saturday, Heat Sunday, Dolphins next week against the Jets. And we are here for all of them with your Locked On Dolphins postcast. Locked On Dolphins, day-to-day, is definitely worth a shot for you, worth a listen, worth a watch with Kyle Crabb's fantastic day-by-day information there, especially on the injuries, the fantasy stuff, and the day-by-day coverage. Alex Donald, Locked On Canes, and then the Heat guys, and then myself with the postcast. That's all there is, Phins fans. There is no more. 30-17, Green Bay beats Miami. This has been your Locked On Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thank you for making us your first watch/listen. Now, for your second listen, go find Locked On NFL. 2 shows every day. First, it's the madman, Tyler Rowland. He gets your morning kicked off with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, next Sunday, Dolphins, Jets. A lot of time before that game to fix some things. I have a feeling this team has a run at it. I have a feeling they will be ready for that game, and I have a feeling they are going to get things moving in the right direction and keep that momentum rolling. I really do. Thank you so much for being here and watching tonight and listening as well. This has been your Locked On Dolphins postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease at @JimGrease_ on social media. GRIES. Happy Thanksgiving, Phins fans. Keep your game tight and your mind right. We are